start recording. Thank you everyone for joining us. And now we have the pleasure today to be on the third talk within the series of online talks, part of Boost program with Injaz and Spark. So we're happy today to have the talk on circular economy and its opportunities in Lebanon with our environmental and circular economy specialists, John Nurbez and Maya Karkour. Thank you for being with us today. And we're going to have also an intervention with an entrepreneur working in this field as well. To keep it short واترك المجال أكيد للspeakers to start, I'm gonna just introduce you both and then we can start with our interactive discussion today. So starting with John. John, he's an environmental sustainability consultant. He's an engineer, entrepreneur, and coach. He is passionate about all things related to people, the planet, and the business. After 8 years in Australia working with a wide range of purpose-driven organizations, John is back to Lebanon, keen to channel his energy into projects that accelerate the transition to social and environmental sustainability. John specializes in startup and SME strategies, systems change, and community engagement. Thank you, John, for being with us. And now moving to Maya. Maya is also an environmental and circular economy specialist, an eco-entrepreneur, and the managing director of Eco Consulting, a specialized sustainability consultancy, which she founded in 2023 in the UK and in 2027 in Lebanon. Maya has directly worked on numerous projects aiming at reducing their environmental footprint. She has been actively promoting the circular economy and sustainable practices in Lebanon, more recently by launching the Circular Hub. She holds a master's in environmental and sustainability policies, and she's a circular economy specialist with the Circular Economy Club and holds the permaculture design certificates, first level. So we're happy to have you both with us. And the talk will be interactive, so we're going to have both of you discussing with us some points related to the importance of circular economy, the impact, the effect, how the community can be involved in this, and what we need to really learn on this topic, and what we need to do on this level. So I'm gonna leave the floor to you. We're gonna start with you, Maya. Mahek.
Yes.
Please, everyone, you can ask your questions in the chat, type them in the chat, or raise your hands, and we are ready to take your questions along the way.
Exactly right.
Yalla, we can start with you, Maya.
Thank you, Fidel. Hello, everyone. First of all, I have to say that I'm really pleased to do this talk with John today. We've been collaborating a bit lately, and it's a real pleasure actually to give this introduction to the circular economy together and to share our experiences. And thank you, of course, Injaz, the whole team, for your coordination and trusting us for giving this talk. So I will be starting with a short introduction to the circular economy. Before that, we have a little poll to you to ask you how familiar you are with the circular economy. So John, can you explain how this works?
Of course. So very simple. You just grab your phone, which I'm sure you've got nearby, or if you have it on the screen. Otherwise, if you are actually on your phone, you can just go on slido.com and enter the code 1677669 that is on the screen. And basically it will pop up. The question will pop up, and we'd like to know how familiar you are with the topic of the circular economy.
And be honest, please, be honest.
Yeah.
Okay, we've got only one person who understands the concept.
Come on, let's go. Well, you might be taking a bit of time to maybe get to the page, slido.com.
Yeah, well, 6 people have voted. More are voting.
All right. Any newbies, any experts?
You made it hard for us. You know, who can say who's an expert with you and Maya here? I'm sorry.
You might be. We'll invite you.
You never know someone who's in the audience.
We'll invite you.
You never know someone who's in the audience.
Yes, okay. بس إنه هيك directly من
Maybe we'll discover a new
an
colleague.
expert.
Alrighty, well, come on, we can see there's 32 people.
Okay, maybe John, if you cannot, maybe those of you اللي ما بيقدروا يعملوا scan, put in the chat maybe. هلا بس بركي we find that expert. I want to see that expert, Maya, and invite them to the panel.
Definitely. Okay,
no, I'm actually happy to see that a few people are newbies because they will benefit more from the talk.
Great.
Okay, so I guess we have kind of a third of people who never heard about it and a few others, 2/3 who understand the concept and hopefully will learn more from us today. Do you want to move to the second question, John? Yes.
So what are a few words that you can associate with the concept of the circular economy? Just type it in as well. Okay, we've got Leah in the chat saying that she's a newbie, and that's totally fine. We're there for that. 2 participants typing. Let's see. Alrighty, there we go. Don't be shy, it's anonymous.
We also have community-based, interesting product design, resources. I like Osmose.
Very nice word.
Processes, ethical, interesting.
Sustainability still, resources on top. Sustainability, recycling, upcycling. All right, well, you clearly understand the topic, familiar with the concepts, we can see that. Innovation, growth, material. Superb.
Okay, great. So what we are going to start with actually is to show you a little animation video that really explains very clearly the concept. We thought that it would actually be nice to start with this, and then we can talk about it a little more.
Living systems have been around for
Is the sound coming out of the...
Yes,
few million years.
If you want to start it again, John.
In the living world, there's no system. Living systems have been around for a few billion years and will be around for many more. In the living world, there's no landfill. Instead, materials flow. One species' waste is another's food. Energy is provided by the sun. Things grow, then die, and nutrients return to the soil safely. And it works. Yet as humans, we've adopted a linear approach. We take, we make, and we dispose. A new phone comes out, so we ditch the old one. Our washing machine packs up, so we buy another. Each time we do this, we're eating into a finite supply of resources and often producing toxic waste. It simply can't work long term. So what can? If we accept that the living world's cyclical model works, can we change our way of thinking so that we too operate a circular economy? Let's start with the biological side. How can our waste build capital rather than reduce it? By rethinking and redesigning products and components and the packaging they come in, we can create safe and compostable materials that help grow more stuff. As they say in the movies, no resources have been lost in the making of this material. So what about the washing machines, mobile phones, fridges? We know they don't biodegrade. Here, we're talking about another sort of rethink, a way to cycle valuable metals, polymers, and alloys so they maintain their quality and continue to be useful beyond the shelf life of individual products. What if the goods of today became the resources of tomorrow? It makes commercial sense. Instead of the throwaway and replace culture we've become used to, we'd adopt a return and renew one, where products and components are designed to be disassembled and regenerated. One solution may be to rethink the way we view ownership. What if we never actually owned our technologies? We simply licensed them from the manufacturers. Now, let's put these two cycles together. Imagine if we could design products to come back to their makers, their technical materials being reused and their biological parts increasing agricultural value. And imagine that these products are made and transported using renewable energy. Here we have a model that builds prosperity long-term. And the good news is there are already companies out there who are beginning to adopt this way of working. But the circular economy isn't about one manufacturer changing one product. It's
I can't hear any more from my side.
Yes, هلا راح الصوت Maya.
Opportunity to open new perspectives and new horizons. Instead of remaining trapped in the frustrations of the present, with creativity and innovation, we really can rethink and redesign our future.
Okay, so hopefully you were able, I know there was a bit of a cut towards the end, but hopefully you were able to understand the concept for the ones who are not familiar with it. When I show this video, I usually ask the question, what do you think? What do you think? Is it feasible? Is it realistic? Is it entirely crazy? Is it something that we can get to one day? Or we're really completely off track? So if you want to give your opinion, add it to the chat. What do you think? You think we can get there? But basically, just to recap, and to kind of summarize the video and what the circular economy is about, mainly today, we live in a linear economy. So basically, what do we mean by that? Most corporations, industries, even governments operate in a linear way. We just extract and actually over-extract resources because everything that we have around us, everything that we use, everything that we consume, everything that we eat even, or even drink comes from the earth, and we are over-extracting all of these resources, minerals, materials, metals. We're using them to manufacture a lot of things and to produce, but the problem is at the end, when we don't want them anymore, and sometimes we don't want them very fast, we hardly use them, we end up dumping them and they become waste. And we have a huge waste management crisis, not only in Lebanon, but even worldwide. We don't know what to do with this waste. And waste is actually something that should be regarded as very valuable because it has value. So if we redesign this whole operating system in a way where we understand that anything that is left over or we don't need anymore or is disregarded at the end of its usage is actually super valuable, and we design it in a way that it can be recirculated back into the economy, into the industries, into corporations, into the end users, back to the end users, we would be gaining from this value and we wouldn't need to extract that much. And at the same time, we get rid, or we at least reduce significantly our waste issues. And the other very important point here is the better we design all of these objects and products upfront, and the better we design the recirculation of these products, the easier it will be afterwards to repair them, refurbish them, fix them, reuse them, recycle them, and to redispose of them rather than them going to waste. And one very important way to do this is from the start to design products that are meant to be disassembled, in the sense that you can easily separate at the end when we don't need them anymore. You can easily separate what they call here the technical nutrients. So things like metal, plastics, glass, this is all technical, aluminum, while biological nutrients is anything that is from organic origins. So that we're talking about food waste here, we're talking about agricultural waste, we're talking about wood, things that grow in nature. And these should not be mixed up in the waste stream. They are valuable on their own. So when we separate them as soon as, we are able to recover their value much better and to regenerate natural systems while redisposing of these valuable materials. So bottom line, we want to keep these resources in the system for as long as possible, but also to their highest value possible. And lastly, the idea would be to also decarbonize and move towards operating with renewable resources, renewable energies, instead of burning fossil fuel. So why do we want to urgently shift to the circular economy? I think it's a bit obvious that our waste and pollution is out of control, especially in Lebanon, but everywhere. We're already over-consuming. You know, based on a lot of different studies, we're consuming today the equivalent of 1.6 Earths, which means that we're actually eating resources, depleting them so fast that we are consuming what should be left to our kids and the kids of our kids, the future generation. We're doing it so fast that a lot of species are going extinct and a lot of resources are not available anymore, but this is going to cause huge problems in the future. So we're taking too much, we're wasting too much, thus the pollution, climate change, and a lot of other issues. Okay, pollution is related to emitting also, meaning that we have a global climate crisis that you're all, I'm sure, familiar with. So if we turn this way of thinking completely, and we consider from the beginning that everything that is material is valuable, and we design our businesses and our industries to make sure that at the end of usage, we are reusing all of these valuable resources, we would be winning at all fronts, from a planetary environmental perspective, from a social perspective, because you have to keep in mind that social, us humans, that means we need to live in a healthy environment. Pollution means health problems. It means a high risk of allergies, cancers, headaches, and all sorts of other diseases. So we want to really, if we want to live in a better world, we need to design a better world. And this is what the circular economy is about. And one important point also to keep in mind is that today we are losing biodiversity. We have a rate of biodiversity loss that is the highest ever. And it is true that many species have disappeared throughout the millions of years before, you know, the big example being the dinosaurs not here anymore. So yes, there is this process of evolution that makes species disappear, but what is happening today since the Industrial Revolution is that many of these species are disappearing at a rate that is unprecedented. So caused by human damage, meaning that the level of pollution, deforestation to extract materials and resources, deforestation for agricultural land is making these animals and species lose their habitat. While if we reverse to a model of circular economy, we would need much less materials in their original form. We need to mine less, we need to deforest less. So there is more conservation, and we would be able to also help in the biodiversity crisis, which is actually said to be the second biggest crisis after the climate change crisis, because we live in a web of life that is interconnected, and we are connected to all of these species. So when we lose many of them, we don't know what will happen after. We depend on them for our survival. Thus, the model here, we have another video, I think, right, John? Yes, it's just another summary video here, a very quick one.
Not sure. Yeah.
If it's not working, we can skip it.
Oh, yeah. Probably have to.
And I just need meanwhile to mention, Maya or John, I know there are a few people that are sharing some notes and comments in the chat. So whenever you feel you can check them out and reply.
Okay, so let me see. So Rana thinks that we can definitely get there. Great. And that we don't have any other choice in the near future. I really think it is the case. We won't have a choice at one point in time. And the earlier, the more proactive we are, the more we will be able to solve these issues. Totally agree. We have a comment here about rethinking ownership. And so I don't know, Mahoun, if you want to share this verbally or if you want to leave it to the discussion at the end, because that's a big topic here. Let's leave it till the end, this topic of sharing and capitalism, otherwise we'll go off track. So in terms of the main principles of a circular economy, there are three main ones. The first one, I mean, there are many other ones, but the major ones are, let's try to design from the onset, as much as possible, product, but also processes and mechanisms that allow us to design out waste, meaning how do we eliminate the waste at the end? How do we recirculate waste at the end when we don't need these objects and materials? So designing properly from the start will allow us to get there. And also designing out pollution, that means that when we can, as much as we can, let's favor products that are less toxic or that are not toxic. So instead of using, non-biodegradable chemicals or synthetic products and so on that are non-biodegradable, let's try to replace them with biodegradable, healthy alternatives. So this is one big part of the equation, designing properly from the onset, because it's proven that 90% of the environmental impact of a product is actually captured during the design. As an example, if you design a table that is badly designed in the sense that you've put on it lots of chemicals that will evaporate when the table is in a room where the temperature is high, these chemicals called volatile organic compounds will evaporate. And throughout the life of this table, let's say 15, 20 years, we humans will be actually inhaling it. So if we design this bad table and spread it on the market and there are, I don't know, like 10,000 of it distributed and sold, that means 10,000 tables are going to emit bad chemicals and we are going to live in an unhealthy environment. So how do we keep these criteria in mind early at design stage to reduce the negative impact in terms of waste, obviously, but also pollution, air pollution, and water pollution, and earth pollution? The second principle is keeping these products and these materials the longest possible in use. And this means that the job of an entrepreneur and the job of a business, if it's a responsible corporation, is not just to sell these products, but also to think what is going to happen. First, how do we make sure that our consumers are going to use them the longest possible at their highest value possible, but also how do we make sure that when this consumer doesn't want the product anymore for any reason, how do you make sure that this product is not ending in the garbage bin and most often in nature after that? So the manufacturer or the enterprise or the company should have a responsibility to think about the after usage and how to recirculate this product back into the productive industry. And lastly, and this is about natural waste, so organic waste, biodegradable waste, how can we take advantage of this in order to regenerate natural systems? And the most obvious example is organic waste. Can we transform it into a high quality, nutritious compost that will benefit the land? This is one example. So next, please, John. Yes, I just want to mention here also, as you can see in this picture, that, okay, in a linear economy, we end up with a lot of waste, but the circular economy is not just about recycling, and it's a very important point. It goes much beyond recycling only. Recycling is definitely a good solution, but recycling should not be the #1 solution. In a circular economy, you design from the beginning in a way that you will favor mechanisms for recirculation without needing to recycle right away. To give a good example, if you design a chair in a way that you can easily disassemble all its parts. When something breaks, you don't throw all of this to the bin, but also you don't send the whole chair to recycling. Recycling is highly energy consuming. It requires water. It requires other chemicals. It's definitely better than producing new items from scratch, but it is still highly energy intensive in general. So because you're melting down these materials. While if we have a system for this chair where this piece that doesn't work anymore, we can repair it and put it back, let's say the wheel, or we can just send it to a carpenter and fix it in a very good way and bring it back, it's definitely a #1 step before sending it to recycling. So ideally, we would end up without waste. And today, despite all our efforts to recycle, only 8% of plastic in the world is being recycled, and 14% of it is incinerated. The rest is going to landfills and nature. So we need to find better mechanisms, and we need not to prioritize only recycling in our way of working. And this is something that corporations and enterprises really need to learn how to do and collaborate together in order to get there. Two other things, problems with recycling, is that typically it downgrades the quality of the material. So if we take the example of plastic, the more you recycle certain types of plastics, the more their quality is going to downgrade. So you will not be able to produce the best quality of objects afterwards with it. Also, it's for plastic, it sheds a lot of microplastic along the way. But the problem also is that it indirectly, and that's a big problem, indirectly promotes overconsumption. And I've seen this many times, people around me who have very good intentions, they use a lot of plastic water bottles, and they tell me, no, but it's okay, we're recycling them. Yeah, okay, but we are recycling them, but they need energy. It needs a lot of things in order to send them to recycling. How about using your reusable bottle when you are at home, fill it and go with it. This is going to last, this bottle is going to last for 5-10 years. And it's much better, wiser in terms of choices, basically, for research. So this is just the same graph if you want, but you can see to the right-hand side that it's not just about sending things to recycle in the circular economy, but it's also about remaking, returning, repairing, reusing, refurbishing, everything you want to recirculate. And the last stage is recycling. If something is not repairable anymore, that's it. It doesn't have a usage in any sense. So then, yes, we can send it to recycle. And we should send it to recycle. So just as a summary, we want to keep these resources in the system for as long as possible, as their highest value possible. And this means we want this waste management problem at the end of the whole chain to minimize as much as possible. So we're not dealing with waste anymore, we're dealing with valuable resources. They can either go back to the original consumer for use or reuse after repair, or sold in a secondhand shop or vintage or whatever, for in the case of clothes. So this can go to the same consumer or another end user, or it can go back to the same, Pascal, please, to the same manufacturing industry, or to remanufacture from another industry. And lastly, if the other two options are not available or not possible anymore, then it can go to a recycling factory, which will melt the materials. So I leave the floor now to John to carry on with the advantages and the benefits of a circular economy from a more practical angle.
Thank you for that, Maya. So yeah, for me, like at this point, maybe as part of the recap of why are we talking about the circular economy this much, and what are the benefits, what are the advantages of the circular economy? The most obvious one is obviously will be reducing the use of virgin resources and the consumption of them, especially when they're non-renewable resources. There's what comes, I think, we saw it a few times at the end of life. So from the linear economy, we've got very high waste volumes that are ending up in landfills. If we're using recycling, it's less. But then with the circular economy, we're keeping, as Maya was mentioning, we're keeping this material in circulation as much as possible, which means we are slowing down the rate at which they're ending up in the landfill. In the process, when we are extracting less, when we are producing less, or at least not producing completely from raw materials, or transporting less because of recycling, for example. So recycling includes all the way of transporting from your house to the place, to the collection point, from collection point to the factory. Sometimes they're actually exported out of the country as well. So this is all of the types of emissions that are associated with even your good solution, right? Which is recycling. But to go even further with by lowering carbon emissions, here we're really looking as well as lowering carbon emissions that are associated with an embedded value of this material. So all the way through like producing it a few times, keeping it in circulation as much as possible. Now, Maya also mentioned a few times that these products, sometimes they'll end up in landfills, a lot of the times they'll end up in nature, or throughout the process, we're also sometimes destroying our planet in so many different ways, whether this is through extracting oil, we might be destroying some oceans because of some oil spills. When we are working on land using a lot of pesticides, or when we are actually ending up our plastics or our microplastic are ending up in the soil, we're also degrading the quality of the soil, which in the end of the day will be leading to increased food problems. So the circular economy would also be helping with food security. Now, the less obvious ones are the ones I really like to get to, are the ones that really the circular economy is not just about the environment. It is not only about saving the planet and saying, hey, I'm a good person and doing that. In fact, it is a very well studied thing. So it does connect with economy. It does also create jobs. It allows us to use human resource in a much better way, where also with the circular economy, we are capable of creating a lot of regional jobs instead of having them all centered in the city or in manufacturing areas only. In fact, it also makes business a lot more resilient in the way that you want to think about let's think about the crisis of COVID, when businesses were relying on raw material that came all the way from another continent or from other places. Or now they couldn't anymore guarantee that they had this raw material that was coming in. So businesses had to stop production. If we're looking at the smartphone industry, if we're looking, for example, at EVs, like electric vehicles, for example, a lot of these parts we were not able to extract them anymore or transport them because of that. Well, but the problem is that these materials that we're still extracting and transporting, in fact, exist in the products we've produced previously. So if this business, if we were to look again at whose comment was it, Maroon, about ownership and about looking at ownership of things. But if the business, for example, was able to reclaim these products, they know exactly what kind of material was in there. If they designed from the start for being able to recapture this material, separate it, and recycle it or reuse it, then the business will also increase its resilience. It also creates new opportunities for manufacturers, exactly in that sense of having access to their own material, to having more control over their supply chain. And it provides benefit for consumer because, in fact, with the circular economy, we're looking at slowing down design or designing smarter, really. When we're designing smarter, say these mobile phones that you used to have or computers that after a year or two, now they're too old, right? Then with circular economy, we're actually designing for longevity. We're designing for something that can be reused, that can be updated, you can add a part to it, so in the end of the day, trends and all these things that are fads, very short, will not be part of that circular economy in a lot of ways. So it also provides benefit to the consumers, both economically, but also in terms of access to these things. Now, economically, on a bigger picture, the circular economy offers the world, it's a worldwide 4.5 trillion USD as an opportunity worldwide, as a gross national, as a GDP globally. And only in the consumer good industry, you want to think that we've got about $3.2 trillion worth of materials that are already existing in there, that only 20% of them are recovered. Imagine we were able to recover more of them. Like this would reduce the operational cost, that would reduce also a lot of the raw material cost, it would reduce the dependency on resources for the company, as we were talking about increasing this resilience. And again, as part of increasing their resilience that we covered before, they're gaining control over their resource supply chain and also cycles. So when we know that, for example, that part in a certain product that we've produced after 6 years, it will come back to us, you know, I will be able to also factor in these things. Now, the circular economy, to sum it up in terms of its benefits, by adopting this global circular economy, we can basically directly and indirectly drive the achievement of, I will say 16 to not say 17 of the 17 UN SDGs, but they directly apply to all of them, okay? And for me, one of the more interesting ones, the number 17 about partnerships and goals, because like saying no poverty, like when we're looking at increasing new jobs, we're going more to regional areas, we're boosting the rural communities or regional communities, to not say rural specifically. We're indirectly also bettering the quality of soil. So we're also providing better, better food security, good health and well-being, because obviously otherwise we're all doomed from the climate change, etc., etc. I'll go over them more in details if you've got questions, just for time. So when we look at the circular economy, in fact, we always talk about waste. For me, the first word that comes to mind when we're talking about circular economy is waste. It's wasted opportunities in a lot of places. So there's different types of waste that happen all along the life cycle of a product or a service or anything. So it might be a bit different between product and services, but let's go over the life cycle, for example, of a product, where from the designing, at the point when we're designing something, a lot of the time we might have wasted resources. So whether this is the material that we produce, if I'm getting, I don't know, huge rolls of fabric, but then I'm cutting and I've designed to cut a certain, I didn't try and optimize how I'm going to cut the fabric to make the, I don't know, the bags or the t-shirts or whatever we're trying to do, then we'll end up with a lot of textile waste that is a lot of wasted resources, for example. And manufacturing, we might find between manufacturing and logistics, wasted capacity. Wasted capacity is basically any assets that we have or products that are underutilized. It can be machines. Like imagine you've got two factories next to each other. One of them is operating 3-4 hours, but it's got this machine that a lot also already it's been produced, material went into that machine, it's been transported, it's been installed, and then that machine sits there underutilized, and their neighbor next door has the exact same machine, or a huge factory, or a lot of space. So here you want to think as well of, for example, Airbnb. You know, it came as an answer to these things. We had a wasted capacity of like these houses we could use them, and so they came up to this model. Anyway, back to logistics. In logistics, we might have, so you might have your own fleet and you do deliveries only in the morning. Imagine you're a bakery and you have your own fleet and you're delivering across the entire country, north, south, and only in the morning. So the cars are just sitting there on being underutilized. So that's again wasted capacity. Now, further down in your life cycle, we've got we've got the wasted life cycle. That's when a product is prematurely just dismantled or sent. Hi. So the wasted life cycle, the easiest example I can think of for you is clothing. So clothes that are perfectly usable that just go out of fashion, or they just have a little hole or a button fell off, and then we can't do anything about it, you just send it. All right, well, that's unusable and I'm discarding it. So it's premature end of life of this working product. And I'll cover solutions for these. Wasted embedded values is pretty much anything that is going to landfill that has a lot of value that we could have extracted, but we are not extracting, okay? Or we're downcycling, but it could have added value. So there's opportunity at each of these steps. And to overcome that, there is different business models. So it's not all, you know, dark and gloomy and doing something great. So this for resource recovery, for example, extension of end of life of product. So here we are looking at, for example, repairing. We might be looking at reusing them in a different way. Say, if, for example, it's a phone, just getting an update to your phone where it extends the life of your phone because the software might be too outdated. Same for computers. At the stage of product choice as well, same thing with product choice is we're looking as well at the sharing platform. Here again, when we looked at wasted capacity of cars, for example, say Uber and Airbnb were the first one to jump onto it, where they thought, all right, well, we've got these cars, we've got these assets. How about we just start sharing them so that people who are coming or using, like coming to the city or needing a place or needing a lift could benefit from it. Then we're maximizing the use of this product. And at other stages, we can apply some of the other ones. Circular supplies, the business model of circular supplies is probably, I always find it funny when people talk about it as an innovative one, and especially this year, that's a very trendy topic about like circular supplies. But in fact, Pepsi Shrebarida is one of our oldest things here in Lebanon. We all know it. So at the end of its life, just return it and then we can refill it, or like the milk bottles or anything like that. And at the center of all that, we've got product as a service. So this is where you might never own your product. At the end of its life, you might lease it, and at the end of its life, after 4 or 5 years, you return it, and we have already planned the dismantling or a second use to it, or a product life extension to it, or anything of that kind. Partnerships and collaborations, these are very, very important topics for me as part of the circular economy, because in fact, the circular economy is not anymore as much as a linear economy about just competing, about reproducing what the other person has done. It's a lot about sharing resources. And a lot of times, actually, a lot of industries, you'd find the waste of one industry that today they're discarding for $0 value, for example, might become the raw material or the input of another industry. As a very simple example, let's think, like I was working on this project of a brewery that I really like to talk about this example. The leftover of the crops was they basically found a new market for it, where they would sell it to fish farms, and they used did I say crops? I meant hops. The hops, so yeah, the leftover of these hops after they've been used and crushed and brewed went to be like feeding for these fish and fish farms. Now, another two interesting cases that I also always like as benchmarks, I find them interesting. Heineken, for example, when they started their zero waste, or they're trying to reduce their emissions and all that, they started reducing their energy and getting most of their energy from neighboring factories, because they identified in Mexico, and I can't remember in which city in Europe, their factories were surrounded by other factories. So the excess heat that was produced in the neighboring ones, it's reduced about 20% of the energy consumption that they were getting from non-renewable energies. So that was one of the things. And another one, Timberland as a brand, for example, they tried to do a lot of, so that was about 2012 when they started, they did some, how do you say, they're trying to do recyclable soles made of recycled tires. But with time, they couldn't anymore control the quality of these tires. So they did literally a collaboration and a partnership with a tire company where they designed together. So they went in with their portion of the sticks and they designed together these tires and the material and the composition of it to make sure that these tires were going to be like the top quality of what they needed when these tires came back for that. So here they've partnered with, literally you cannot think of, like, it's a clothing and hiking company that has partnered and created a collaboration with a tire company. So there's so many other examples we can talk about, but for me, I hope like these two just can show you the extent of how much, you know, partnerships can be at big levels, can be at small levels. It's about of not competing, but also co-opting. We're like working together to get better with ourselves and our community. And last week, I don't know if someone was there at that conference and might remember who the speaker was, but I heard something that really stuck with me about the topic of competing and competition, which is very associated with linear economy, that in fact, the word compete comes from Latin of com is together, and beat is about bettering. So it's about bettering together. And it's not about, but suddenly, like with linear economy and capitalism, we're using the word competing to destroy everything. So yeah, I leave it there on partnerships and collaborations. And I'll hand it over back to Maya.
Thank you, John. I didn't know about competing being actually a form of collaboration. So we need to take it now as an example of new collaboration. Just to mention on the topic of agricultural waste or even organic waste becoming an input for another industry, currently one of our entrepreneurs, Kawafungo, I don't know if you heard about them. They are producing oyster mushrooms using, in a collaboration with Cafe Yunus and a few other cafes in Hamra, to reuse the coffee grounds in order to actually grow the mushrooms and the mycelium in it. So it's a good example of what can be done locally in order to take advantage of this type of waste as a valuable resource. I'm going to give you here a few examples too of some of our local entrepreneurs who are following a model of a circular economy in a way or another. So one of them is Tire Evolution. Georges Kassab came up with the idea of reverse engineering tires. And what they do is that they learned how to be able to really extract the synthetic rubber from the other metallic elements and be able to bring it back to its original pure form as much as possible, so it has a high value on the market. And during the crisis here, while everybody was struggling, they actually had a market, because importing this rubber, and regionally also, especially during COVID, importing this rubber was becoming very difficult. So they ended up with a very beneficial value proposition thanks to recirculating the tire. Another example is, you might have heard of Umbrella. A brilliant Lebanese entrepreneur, his name is Ricardos Lebos, who came up with a solution to make fruits and vegetables last longer by spraying them with a product, a natural product, which through a certain, chemical reaction makes these fruits and veggies last, I believe, 2 or 3 times longer shelf life. And it is replacing, this is of high value at the moment in European and even American supermarkets, because they use a lot of plastic wrap or cling films to sell, like even cucumbers. I don't know if you've seen these big cucumbers wrapped with cling film. So it's replacing this plastic that is being used only one time, and that I'm not sure how healthy it is to wrap with, which main property is to keep the shelf life longer by a natural spray. And it's working super well at the moment. Another example, in Lebanon, I don't know if you've heard about the Kentennes in the Shuf. They have an amazing model, actually, which is to promote refill and to rethink packaging, because I don't know if you know, but about 30 to 40% of the cost of products, mostly like consumer products, is actually in the packaging, not in the product or the ingredient itself that you are buying. So their model here, which is not actually a new model, this is how it used to be in the past, right? When we didn't have plastic bags and plastic containers and all of that. Their model is for people to come with their own containers. It could be a glass bottle, it could be a glass jar, it could be a Tupperware, and to refill things like oil, like cleaning products, like detergents. It could be also, they even have, I think, mustard and ketchup and other things that are more like grains and lentils and haboub and so on. So what is really amazing with this is that it has given affordability to people, because it is cheaper than going to a normal supermarket. And on top of that, for people who are really facing difficulties today, given the current economic crisis, they can decide how much they can afford. So some people can't necessarily afford to purchase like the full jar or the full shampoo bottle at the moment. So they can decide to just have a tiny bit and then come back a few weeks later to refill. And it's giving them this customization option. They're doing really well. I love what they're doing. Next, please, John. Yeah, thank you. I think you've probably all heard about Fabric 8, and one of their shops is the Second Base shop, which is about giving a second-hand, another life to clothes. So it's a second-hand shop for vintage clothes, but also for modern clothes that people don't want anymore. They're still very trendy. They're still very nice, high quality. And their value proposition is not only in, you know, collecting these and sorting them and cleaning them, but really giving this experience of shopping as if it is brand new. And it is contributing to changing mentalities in the country, because today more and more people are willing to actually purchase secondhand clothing, which is fashionable, and you know, it's as clean as getting it from China, shipped here to be worn firsthand. I can promise you that. So there's no hygiene issue with it. And you can see on at the entrance of their shop, they had this sign explaining the benefits of buying secondhand from an environmental perspective also, but from a social perspective or an economic perspective, it gives more affordability to people, it's cheaper. And at the same time, there is communities are created around this of people who start thinking the same way and changing trends in a positive way. Next, please. Okay, we also have Waste Studio. They were amongst the first green entrepreneurs in Lebanon. Waste Studio has been there for a long time now, and they repurposed billboards, you know, these advertising boards on the streets, in order to make really fashionable bags and bean bags and accessories out of them. They also moved to taking leftover textile from boat covers, the things that you know, are left over from cutting these things, even the chambre à air of the bike, of the tire, and the seat belts of the cars that are going to scrap. So they're reusing a lot of things to make fashionable accessories, and they're selling also abroad. Then we have the example of Wave. You might have seen these really cool electric bikes on the streets of Beirut and now elsewhere in the country. They have an app that tells you also, that helps you in guiding and navigation to cycle in the city in a relatively safe way, let's say, in Lebanon. Their model, and this is also about ownership, the topic of ownership, their model is a subscription model. You don't own the bike, and that is on purpose. It is on purpose because they want to retain ownership to maintain these bikes at the highest quality possible on the market. So they are responsible for repairs, they are responsible for maintenance, and if something doesn't work, they immediately will replace it with another bike while still you know, fixing the other ones in a as high quality as possible. So we have a picture here of their bikes. They are in Jaitawi in Beirut, and now spreading to other areas in the region. And last but not least, we are inviting Batul Hakim, a sustainable chemist, founder of Savvy Element, to talk about her green line of home care and self-care products. So Batul is with us. Fidel, do you want to introduce Batul?
Sure, I can. So now we're happy to have you, Batul, with us. And thank you, Maya, for sharing about all the profiles of these amazing entrepreneurs working in this field. Batul, she's a green chemist and the founder of Savvy Element. She's an it's an ecological brand and manufacturing company for self and home care products that are both green and circular. Batul grew up in Beirut and envisions it a zero waste sustainable city. She is passionate about designing green products and processes that reduce the generation and use of hazardous substances through sustainable, resource efficient and innovative design, molecule and materials. So Batul, you previously, as we know, worked on research projects focused on waste to energy processes, biomass and biogas, as well as green solvents. So I know that you have a lot to say, so I'll leave it to you to share with us your story.
Thank you, Fidel. Hello, everyone.
Do you have slides, Batul, that you'd like to put up?
Yes, I'm gonna share my screen.
Yeah, while Batul is sharing her screen, I wanted to mention that, of course, the examples that we've shown are just a very, very tiny sample of all these amazing green enterprises working in Lebanon now to try to make a difference in the country. So there are a lot of inspiring companies and enterprises, and maybe some of you are here amongst us. And the other thing I want to mention is that Batul is one of my superheroes, because getting to where she is at now required so much determination. I'm always amazed by everything she has done. So
thank you, Maya. So hello, everyone. My name is Batul. I'm a green chemist and environmentalist. And I'm here today, obviously, to share my journey with you, which started a few years ago. That was when I decided to shift to more sustainable consumption habits and a cleaner way of life in general. As a green chemist, I was aware of the importance of green self-care products like shampoos, deodorants, etc., and even green cleaning products for the house, not only for our health, but also for the environment, for environmental reasons. And I started buying sustainable green products. I realized that everything that I was buying was imported, which in itself is not a sustainable habit. So I thought, why not have a local, high quality alternative? And here I started working on green products formulas in parallel with my graduate studies. And by 2019, I had established Savvy Element's first very small scale production lab in Beirut. So in a nutshell, Savvy Element is an ecological manufacturing company for home care and self-care products. It's really my way of looking at the chemistry of things, at interactions, and our impact. But if we take a step back and look at what a green product is, for me, a green product is really much more than just an organic label. It's a thorough evaluation process. So we look at the whole life cycle of a product, at how ingredients are extracted, where they are extracted and transported from, how much water was wasted in the process, polluted, spoiled, energy dissipated, resources depleted, toxins released, and waste generated. And we apply the same thinking to every stage of the life cycle of a product, from sourcing to extraction, processing, manufacturing, use, and finally disposal. This is very important because it leads to circularity, which is the ultimate purpose. Because in my opinion, the importance of using green products, green and sustainable products, really lies in the connection that we have with Earth. And we are part of an ecosystem, and we need to respect it and respect its space and its resources. And when we design products that cannot be processed by this ecosystem, we should expect that the same harm that we are causing the environment will also occur on the micro level inside our bodies. So as such, Savvy Element adopts a holistic view of sustainable production. So our entire value chain revolves around minimizing environmental harm, from designing products with responsibly sourced materials, to reducing energy consumption during manufacturing, to using recyclable packaging. And also this applies to every single product. So I'll take the shampoo bars as an example. Shampoo bars have a lower overall carbon footprint because they are more lightweight than liquid shampoos. They are more compact, so they require less space during transport relative to the same amount of washes that we get with a liquid shampoo. Shampoo bars also don't really require packaging. I don't usually like to share numbers a lot because I feel that we get lost in numbers, but today, globally, we have around 92% of plastic bottles that are not being recycled, even if they're being collected for recycling. So we have to always bear in mind that when we give something for recycling, and recycling should be the end solution, or the last solution for us to look at. This is a real waste of precious resources in addition to causing pollution. Also, shampoo bars are long lasting. They're more concentrated than liquid shampoos. So we can use less per application. If you look at any shampoo bottle, liquid shampoo bottle, you can see that the first ingredient is always water, which means that it makes up around 70% of the product. Maya, I just want to ask you about the time to see, I remembered something that I wanted to share here. Do you think I should share it or skip?
Yes, go ahead, we have time, it's fine.
Okay, so I'm thinking about something now. It's interesting to also talk about different designs fitting different contexts, because while we of course, shampoo bars, solid shampoos are more environmentally sound than liquid shampoos. We've been lately working on some amenity options for a guest house. And it made me realize that in their case, liquid might make a bit more sense, because here people are spending a couple of nights and they would probably use 10 to 20% of the shampoo bar, which will then go to waste. So it's better in this case to have dispensers where people will just apply the exact amount that they need without having the rest of the bar or the product going to waste. So this is just to say that
need the context to understand the context.
Yes, exactly. Like it's not a one-fits-all solution. We have to be flexible with and creative. Another aspect that where we can apply a circular model is really sourcing, and this is where we're working the most. So prior to the crisis, it was very difficult to source ingredients locally, despite the amazingly diverse flora in Lebanon. And whatever we could find locally, we couldn't find in the quantities that we needed. And the suppliers were having a hard time consolidating their resources in order to be able to produce. Today, we still heavily rely on imports, but there's a growing tendency to produce locally because now there's more demand for locally sourced ingredients. And so the period of lockdowns, which has put a lot of free time on our hands, allowed me to visit farmers, look at their practices, discuss possibilities of extracting certain absolutes and essential oils among other plant derivatives with them. And actually seeing what we have in terms of resources and skilled people, I thought that it's crucial to bridge the gaps between the different stakeholders. So some farmers have the plant materials and other people have the equipment and services to extract materials, and it would work well to put both in touch. So as an example that we worked on, we use a lot of citrus extracts at Savi Element, and citrus extracts are normally extracted from the peels of citruses. And we had to find a way, if you wanted to extract citruses, you had to find a way to utilize the fruit, which in this case is a waste in the product. So the best way was to actually collaborate with a business that already uses the fruit and discards the peel. And this is where we thought about approaching juiceries for collaborations. Some Lebanese juiceries produce tons of peel annually, and they have little to no use of it. We reached an agreement with some to take their peel waste and use it for oil extraction, which gets us one step closer to a circular model in sourcing. I have other examples, but I'll skip them. But these are just few examples of the amazing potential that our country has and the multiple ways we can apply circularities in our businesses, but also in our daily actions. And I hope that this talk and my presentation have given you some ideas on how you can improve your lifestyle in terms of sustainability. And I'm ready to take any questions that you have.
Thank you, Batul. Batul, I just want you to elaborate on one more thing, which is the refill options that you are giving, because it's directly linked to circularity.
Yes, actually, I skipped
the detergents.
Yeah. For the home care in particular, we offer a refill service where people can return their bottle or their gallons. We have two formats. They get a discount if they do so, and we offer them a refill. We're trying to do the same for the self-care products, but so far it's very well applicable for the home care because it's a product that people use very frequently, and unfortunately we still bottle it in plastic containers. So at least we get to reuse the gallons that we get.
Okay, great. Yeah, it's actually an amazing option because cleaning products, you know, when you clean the house, you clean, or you want for the dishwashing and laundry, it's something we use on a regular basis, and the packaging doesn't really matter. So being able to refill it at a more affordable price is beneficial in all aspects, basically.
Exactly.
Super. Thank you so much, Batul. Anyone has specific questions for Batul before we take other questions?
We had a few comments, few notes in the chat, but I guess they were for the talk that you shared, Maya and John. I'm not sure إذا حدا قبل يسأل شيء لبتول.
Okay, we have a question from Iman, actually.
Yes. I muted myself. No. Okay.
No.
Yes. So basically, all our products are suitable for allergy-prone skin because we don't use any synthetic fragrances, which are the main allergy-causing ingredient or component of skincare products in particular, and also home care. But also, we make sure that all the ingredients that we use, even the essential oils, which also could be considered as allergens sometimes, we make sure that what we use are allergen-free, because we also communicate the products as being safe for kids, which is very essential to us. So totally safe to use if you have an allergy-prone skin.
Thanks, Batul. Any other questions for Batul? Even eczema? Yes.
Yes, even eczema.
Okay. Do your self-care products have expiration date?
Yes, of course. Every self-care product should have an expiration date. If you find a product that doesn't have one, you should be cautious. But usually we have an expiration of 8 to 10, a shelf life of 8 to 10 months for self-care products.
That's quite a bit.
That's interesting, Batul. I have a question for you. Maybe you mentioned this, but I missed it, or maybe you didn't mention this. Where are you selling in Lebanon? How people can reach your products?
We're currently selling in different outlets, mainly health-oriented stores. We have around 10 points of sale. They're all available on our website and our Instagram page. They're across the country. And we're also selling through the website and through our WhatsApp, which is also on Instagram, but we deliver all across Lebanon. And also we always we tell our clients that they're welcome to visit us. They can take the products, but also see our production facility, ask about the ingredients or anything that they want, but we want full transparency. So we always get visits as well from people who would like to know more about what they're using. And they can also purchase the products there.
Amazing, amazing. Thank you, Batul. I see that we have a question or a comment to add from Samar.
Yes. Hi, Batul. Hi, Samar Menenjaz. And I've always heard about you from Maya, and I know why I'm hearing so much. My question actually, like from a business side and for others, so we don't associate circular, and thank you for explaining so much, like beauty element, business side, how can we make like products like yours more accessible or widely acceptable? Maybe how do you find your market? Is it a very niche market? For somebody trying to start new, is it tricky? Is it frightening? And no, this is a very niche market. You need people who, ما بعرف. Yeah, you got my point.
Yes, I did.
It's not the regular commercial product that is found everywhere.
Yes, I start with the second part of the question, really regarding how acceptable the products are. I think that, and this is something that took me a while to realize. we have to not only focus on the environmental aspect. I mean, for me, until today, the environmental aspect is the priority, but we have to also look what the products offer beyond the environmental aspect, because today, for example, most of our clients buy the home care because they have kids, they have allergies, they have sensitive skin, and they want products that are mainly safe in terms of health. They don't really care about the environment. So some want products that are vegan or fragrance free. So we have to know how to communicate the other aspects of the product in a way to reach more people beyond those who care about the environment. And I always take the example of my cousin, who used to always tell me that I don't really care about the environment. If you give me a shampoo bar that will do the same job as my regular shampoo, I'm willing to use it. So the products have to be efficient. Yani we cannot today tell people, no, use a product that's more pricey and less performing only because it doesn't harm the environment. No one or a very tiny minority will care. So efficiency is also very important. And this is something that I've been focusing on since the beginning. And we don't tell people that this product has to remain in the fridge or you cannot take it on your trip because it will get spoiled, or you know, it won't foam, or it won't clean, or it won't hydrate as long. It has to give the same outcome as another product. With regard to the pricing or the competitiveness of the product, actually, this was the one advantage of the crisis. Imports have become more expensive, which made us and other, I'm sure, other locally manufactured products as well, were more competitive. Yani today, for me, our self-care line is very reasonably priced. We're not really expensive. We have a tiny problem with the home care products because, yes, you're using ingredients that are very different than the conventional products. I think you need to reach an economy of scale to be able to work better on that. But definitely in the past 2 years, we've become much more competitive as opposed to prior to the crisis. So maybe if people get more encouraged to buy local products, this could also help. Like people should take a stand and stop buying imports, and then retailers will have no choice but to buy to supply local products, and then we find our balance.
Yeah, thank you, Betul. That's exactly actually like to make it more common, not common, only commercial, but I think what you said was very important. It has to perform. People should not pay a premium for something that is environmentally friendly. It has to perform on its own. It has to be efficient, practical. Thank you. And I think we all need we need to think of Savvy Element products aside from us in the ecosystem, knowing, yes, this is yes, as a supplier. So yeah, expect my orders soon. Because we have to make it
I would like to comment on this, yes. Though. In particular, with regards to self-care products and cleaning products, the problem is also a problem of awareness and education. And in Lebanon in particular, we have this frenzy of cleaning, obsessiveness of hygiene and cleaning that is actually very detrimental to our health, because we're using products that, yes, maybe they are cheaper on the market, you know, the low quality ones, they are cheaper, but they are like really packed with synthetic chemicals that do not serve our health. Maybe they are clean in the sense of killing bugs or, I don't know, killing microbes, but they are also killing the good microbes and the good bacteria, and they are causing diseases. So we need to break this mentality. Even if the products of Savvy Element are slightly more expensive, if you start using a little less for cleaning, you save, and you use something that is high quality, that is regenerative, that is biodegradable, and that is healthy for you and for your kids and your family. At the end of the day, you're actually saving money and saving insurance costs and saving, you know, your health and your future. So this is where the communication is so important. The messaging are so important, and raising awareness amongst the public about a lot of things that we do, because maybe they're more affordable, but we do them a lot and we end up, you know, paying as much for them, where we have other options where we can reduce usage, consumption, but have something of much higher quality for us.
Agreed, Maya. I think we all have lots to do and plans, but yes, it is about communication and not making people feel, okay, this is just for the elite few or just the niche who care. No, it's something that concerns us all. So, but yes, like talks like these, introducing us to people like Batul and all us, this is what we all need. This is why we're doing. And I just have to say, this is why the EcoSwitch Coalition, I don't know if you talked about it, but for everyone who's here, this is why we as a group of partners trying to work on making all the, like, finding out that we have to communicate more about, like, to show this is why it's very important to have these talks and these partnerships and collaborations. So thank you, Maya, for bringing Batul. And like, yeah, you give me an idea now of what also we can do. So I'll stop here. I think Linda has something to say, but Fidel, I'll leave it to you.
It's a comment. Personally, I was able to see the change in people's behavior. Sometimes when I post something about Savvy Element, yesterday's event, let's say, I received a lot of messages saying that we know Savvy Element, we used to buy, we are loyal customers to them, and it makes me feel happy that people are aware that such products exist and they are loyal to them. So we have to keep mainly communicating the benefits behind buying such products in order to have more and more customers believing in mainly the values behind the Savvy Elements products. So that's it from my side.
Thank you, Linda.
True. Thank you, Linda, for your comment. So again, thank you so much, Batul, for your amazing work. We definitely need more people like you. And as Maya and John mentioned, a lot of industries can be involved in this. So here I have a question to John. What do you think could be most sectors and or industries that can benefit the most from adopting circularity?
There's a lot, I would say, but the food and beverage is one definitely that can benefit a lot of. And we have a lot of, the separation between the technological equipment, like material that are recyclable or organic. There's a lot of food that comes with the package and you separate them anyway. There's a separation that happens at the source anyway. So I think there's a lot. In the textile now, it's a growing area. I mean, like you could literally go in each of them and then just extract parts of it because they're all interconnected today. There's no industry that is operating on its own. You got to really look, they're all part of each other's supply chain as well. So, yeah. And it goes all the way to the consumer's use in the end. So, yeah.
And I would like to add a sector that is very interesting, which is agricultural waste, because today we need to create new products, innovate with new products that are bioproducts, that are biodegradable. And there are a lot of opportunities to actually experiment with agricultural waste. And this is happening now at international scale, especially with the EU. I don't know if you know about this ban on disposables for the food and beverage industry and restaurants and catering industries. They're not allowed anymore to use one-time usage or disposable plastic to deliver food or for many of their packaging. So they need alternatives. And these alternatives are probably bio-based, and the waste from the agriculture sector is a big resource of input that we can experiment with. It's not easy, of course, but we have a few entrepreneurs that are looking into this. It requires more work because they need to test, they need to, test the properties of these materials, see if they are, let's say water resistant or resistant with time and so on, but there are huge opportunities in this sector.
Amazing. And I guess based on what you mentioned, John and Maya, we are seeing a lot of ideas coming out, and people are exploring launching new businesses around this from multiple industries. And here's why we're sharing all these insights, and thank you for sharing all these details and insights on this topic, because this could be be beneficial to a lot of youth or entrepreneurs or people who are trying to move around an idea regarding circular economy. Well, I guess that we're a bit running out of time. So I don't know if anyone has any specific question in the chat or any comment that you'd like us to come back to and elaborate on. And I can close with one question that maybe you can both share on, which is related to the challenges that we're currently facing. What do you see as challenges that can slow down the adaptation of or the adoption of circular economy, and what could be the steps that we as community or as stakeholders can work on towards moving this forward or improving this? So I don't know who'd like to go first.
I think one of the main challenges is a challenge that any business is facing, and not just, green businesses, is the lack of support for startups in Lebanon, in the sense of the government not assisting, but also more specifically to environmental startups, where in other countries, they receive a lot of support in the sense of, tax discounts, for example, for repair services, or no tax for repair services, for energy efficient products, for products that are proven to be organic, or so on. So giving like these financial incentives to the entrepreneurs, because the first step, like to establish, is very complicated and requires also more financing. We do not have the support, and sometimes actually the government is basically putting barriers, and I know that Batul can talk about that a lot, for the establishment of a business, as simply as that, instead of, on the contrary, encouraging these entrepreneurs to come and create their own businesses using local resources and enriching the local economy. So this is definitely one big challenge. John, would you like to add to this?
Maybe I'd say the price of raw material compared to recovered ones, for example. Sometimes it's cheaper to get the raw material than get the recovered one that has that is more sustainable as well. So that, there's also that. So whenever you're designing or making a product, there's no incentive for adopting that as part of design, but also as part of the consumer. Sometimes we see that there's lack of value recognition in these materials as well. We don't see, we just expect it, if it's recycled or recovered, that it must cost less, and without really seeing the added value that has gone through this transformation to recover it, add value, bring it back to the shelves. The other thing as a barrier, I would say, is literally circular washing, that people are today just thinking like the greenwashing or circular washing, just being kind of misled into thinking that what they're doing is a good thing. And there's lack of information, really. There's really a lack of information, and there's maybe too much information that people are not going through, I would say as well.
And one last thing that I would like to add is what we discussed before in terms of collaboration and partnerships. We also see a lot of more established industries reluctant to share or to collaborate, while to really get to a model of circular economy, we need collaboration at very large scale, and we need to stop thinking we're competing, and competition is, in our current world, will not help anymore. In the future, we cannot, everything that we are creating today, someone else will have created it elsewhere. Any new invention you can think of today, most probably someone in this world of 8 million people, someone has already the idea. So in order to succeed, we need to actually see what are our strengths, but also what are our weaknesses, and then collaborate with these people who can help us push forward our idea, and we help them push forward their ideas or their products. So if we can break this negative cycle of, oh, they're going to steal our idea. The market is big, and the raising awareness is part of it. The more we are promoting these ideas, and the better it will be, because the messages will kind of sink in the population, in the society.
Exactly, I agree with you. There's a lot to work here, and there's a lot to collaborate on, and we can really think of a positive competition rather than a negative competition for us to all join forces on this level, because there's a lot to do, and we need to work on this together. Thank you so much, Maya and John. I don't know if you have any final note to share. I'm seeing on the chat that a lot of people are engaging and sharing their notes or comments just as acknowledgement of what you're saying. I don't think there is a specific question here. Maybe they are asking if they can get your emails for sharing or discussing further details later on.
Sure, I can share my email. And happy to answer any questions at any time. You know, if one of you requires additional advice, please feel free to reach out. And yeah, thank you.
Sure. I guess that we have a question from Maroon. Maroon, do you want to go quickly? You can unmute yourself. Or do you want to type it in the chat?
Yes, hello.
Yes, Maroon, hi.
I just wanted to come back on my comment quickly. So I was saying that in the video, they talked about ownership, and here we are talking about politically. I took the way to capitalism and other systems. And about the separable products, I think they are that, let's say, hard, or I don't know how to say it, or related to each other, because the brand doesn't want us to know the secrets, because it would be easier for them to the idea or the software be copied or plagiated.
So you broke up at the end, Mahoun. What were you saying?
I said no, because it's that condensed. The secrets won't be known, and the product of the software won't be that plagiated.
You mean in products that it's not easy to copy you, basically?
Yes.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, if you don't need to give all your secrets, but you can still collaborate. This is you know, collaborate in different aspects, collaborate in raising awareness and participating to events and bringing others who are, you know, offering similar products or alternative products to also sell them along with you or with you as a package. There are many ways to think about collaboration. So.
Okay, thank you.
Most welcome.
Amazing. So I guess that our time is up. I don't know if anyone wants to add anything quickly to wrap it up. Thank you, Batul, for sharing your story, for doing an amazing work. Thank you, John. Thank you, Maya, for being such activists on this level. I don't know that you're creating awareness along the way, and you're sharing your knowledge and experience on this level. And thank you for being with us here. I'm pretty sure that everyone here benefited from what you shared with us. So yeah, thank you so much.
Thank you for having us.
Exactly. Thank you for having us, and hope everybody enjoyed.
Yeah, you know,
thank you everyone for joining.
Yes, exactly.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you.
Thank
Have
you.
a nice
Bye
weekend.
bye. Have a nice weekend.
Bye.
Bye.